here today with Micah Miller, who is seeking to represent Subdistrict 2 on the District 186 School Board. We appreciate you being here, and if you could start off with just providing an opening statement that tells people a little bit about yourself and why you are running for school board.
Sure. First, I want to thank the State Journal Register for providing this opportunity. My name is Micah Miller. I'm running for school board in Subdistrict 2 in District 186, and the reason that I'm running is because of my daughters. My oldest, she's a first grader at Springfield Ball Charter Public School, and her little sister is currently in pre-K at Emmanuel Lutheran off of Sangamon Avenue, but she will be in kindergarten next year at Springfield Ball Charter. I want to make sure that they have the access to a high-quality education, just like my wife and I received when we went through 186. We both graduated Landfair in 1996. We got scholarships to Lincoln Land through the National Honor Society, and we ended up with degrees at UIS. So because of the resources provided to us and because of some strong parenting, we're now able to live the middle-class American dream on the north end of Springfield. So I want to make sure that that is still a possibility for not only my girls, but for the children in Subdistrict 2 and the children in all of 186.
Okay. So this is an open seat, by which I mean the incumbent is not seeking the seat. What makes you the best candidate out of the two names voters will see on the ballot April 2nd, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm unique because I grew up in Springfield, Illinois. I've been born and raised here. I've gone to 186 schools my whole life. I've actually lived in Subdistrict 2 my whole life. I've played the role as the student, the parent, the father, the homeowner, the taxpayer, all facets of from childhood all the way up to adulthood, and I believe in Springfield and in 186.
What do you see as the primary responsibility of board members for the district?
I would say the primary responsibility is communication with your fellow board members and also with your constituents. You have to be able to talk to people. I think that you should engage with your schools, not only the ones inside your subdistrict, but throughout all of 186. Without communication, it's hard to progress, it's hard to improve over some of the issues the district is facing. So communication primarily is the key.
And what do you see as maybe the top 2 or 3 issues the district is facing that if you're on the board you would like to address?
If I were lucky enough to be on the board, one of the big issues I would like to address is an industrial arts program. I remember in the middle school level, for a couple of years, I was able to participate in industrial arts. I was able to build a box and sand it and finish it, varnish. We were able to build little cars with a CO2 cartridge in the back and stress test little model bridges, and just an introduction to hand tools, an introduction to building. In 8th grade, we were able to build half of a house and learn how to wire it, and I believe that that introduction is something that's missing, and I know it's there at the high school level, but I would like to see it back in the middle school level because the trades are an important consideration for a lot of people.
And what other issues would be priorities?
I'd like to make sure that the infrastructure package that was outlined in the Phase 1 master plan, now that that sales tax referendum is passed, I would like to make sure that that is actually implemented the way that it was outlined in the master plan. The high schools in particular, Landfair in particular, could use a lot of upgrades. There's been a lot of neglect, and I like what they forecasted in that plan. Some additional transparency, I think, from the school board as far as they post agendas and minutes, making it easier to access. I was recently on the news section of 186, and some of the articles went back. I think the most recent one was June of 2018. I know there's been more news since then. So I think we could do a little more to be transparent and to provide information for people.
Okay. Let's dig into that facilities issue. That's been a topic now for several years, and I think that started with this study the Chamber did 3 or 4 years ago now, where it found a negative perception of the district by those moving into our area. How can you as a school board member work to change that perception?
So that's something I've encountered when I've walked door to door talking to families, even back when I was passing my petition. I get a lot of reaction I got from families is, this is great that you're running for school board, but we are planning on moving. And when I would ask them, why are you moving? Well, we just want to go to a better school district. But when you would ask them why, they weren't quite sure why they wanted to move, why 186 they felt wasn't a good district. I think a lot of it, there's just some kind of stigma that people have learned. I think that they can also be unlearned if you show the results. And that's part of where this infrastructure package comes into play. If you can transform these facilities and institute some pride back into the students, into the community, into the neighborhoods, I think naturally there's going to be a little bit of a reverse there. And so I'm really eager. I think this is an exciting time to be a part of the school board. And I'm really eager to see how we can rejuvenate some of that interest into 186.
You talked about the facilities plan that the district has put together, the master plan. How would you prioritize needs? Do you think they're on the right track? Are there other things you think they should be doing? Just talk to us about that plan.
What they've laid out in the phase one? I like it. I think I like that the schools are getting the lion's share of the money up front, the high schools, because they are the ones that I think have experienced some of the most neglect. I know Lake Town and Hazel Dell, they're both going to be raised, and then a new school will be built there. I like that part of the plan. Some of the other updates throughout the elementary schools are meaningful, but there's also going to be other phases that are implemented through the years. So everything I've read, some of the plans they've already put down, particularly with the field houses, with the gyms, with 3 basketball courts, and a performing arts theater at Landfair. I think that they put together a really well thought out plan.
You also talk on your Facebook page, you talked about refurbishing and how you liked that. Are there elements of that in this plan that you think are good?
Yeah, there are, and that was part of the feedback from the community. There was this resistance to just demolish old buildings because they're old. And I get that. Part of that is just built into me. I drive an old car, I deal with old dirt bikes, I like old stuff, especially if it's quality and if it can be repurposed and reused. And so as far as Landfair in particular, some of the sections are going to be demolished, but not others. And I think that they took a really good systematic view as to where the resources should be spent. So I really like the Phase 1 master plan, and I have to applaud Superintendent Gill and the former board members for having the foresight to put that together.
You mentioned the referendum for the sales tax increase that went through. Did you support that?
I did.
Okay.
I supported that 10 years ago when it was on the ballot, and I supported it again. And it was close last time. And all you had to do is look at Macon County when they passed it and see how quickly they were able to implement. I think they got about half the amount of money that 186 is going to get. And 3 years later, they had the bonding secured to completely transform Decatur Eisenhower, Decatur MacArthur. And I really felt like we missed out on that. So when we had a chance to support it again, we were all over it. My wife changed her Facebook page and promoted it with her friends. We went out and got signs. We met with Amy Madigan Brown, and she armed us with the information to talk to neighbors door to door. So yeah, we were staunch advocates.
She did a good job of getting the word out there. For sure, I will say that. When you filed for the office in December, you told one of our reporters that a commitment to a new economic base in Springfield begins with a quality education. There is an effort now in Sangamon County to attract new economic development to our area. What role should education play as plans to accomplish that are put in place? As these discussions are had about improving that, where should education be in that?
So education, even if you don't have children that are in the district, even if you don't have children, period, everybody should have a desire to see our children graduate and have a high-level education, because they're either going to graduate with it or without, and you should want them to be contributors to the community. I'm biased. To go furthermore, I would like to see my kids stay here. I don't want Springfield to just be their home that they grow up. I want it to be their home for life. And that will naturally kind of go into the economic base if you have good contributors, if you have students that want to graduate and stay here. But then also, we've got a great medical district just down the road. I would like to see more with that, more expansion. You know, somebody's got to be making the syringes and the cardboard boxes. I think there's so many opportunities to bring more businesses here to help grow that industry, which should have jobs to support, you know, the future leaders of this community. So I don't know if that answered your question, but it's kind of multifaceted, and it really starts with just having a desire to have our children graduate with a high level education.
Okay. The effort to bring economic development here has resulted in the Land of Lincoln Economic Development Corporation. It's still getting off the ground, but how do you think they're doing?
So I got to admit, I'm not too familiar with some of the work they've been doing, but I do follow City Council, and I'm constantly seeing the issues that they're bringing forth and some of the development they're trying to bring to the local community. Anything that we can do to incentivize more local businesses, more local opportunities, buying local, shopping local, I'm an advocate for.
Okay. The board, one of their big responsibilities is passing a budget each year. Characterize how you approach the budget discussions if you're on the board.
So if I'm lucky enough to win as school board member, one of the first meetings I would be able to establish is with their budget person in 186. Okay. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the line items and seeing where the expenditures are. But then also knowing that there's going to be a new infusion of money for the infrastructure package, and there's already some line items for some of those updates, the life safety issues. So it's something that I think I have to kind of wait until I have the opportunity to see some of the harder numbers.
Okay. So one of the binds that schools get into is the municipality reliance on TIF districts, which essentially freezes those property tax increases from getting to the school coffers. Any thoughts about that? Or because you want to see the city attract businesses at the same time that kind of ties the district's hands.
Yeah, that is a two-edged sword, because you want the economic development, but it also does kind of handicap some of the resources available. It's kind of a conundrum. I'm not sure how you address that. I think you just have to take it on a case-by-case basis and try to forecast the risk versus the rewards of each situation. But yeah, I understand, you know, property taxes are high, and you know, now our sales tax is going to go up just 1% more, and people are feeling it. But that's another reason why I want to be on school board. I want to make sure, in particular, this 1% sales tax referendum is actually going towards its intended purpose, because a lot of feedback I get at the door, people are leery that maybe this is going to go towards teachers or administration. And
so why do you think that is? I mean, that just seemed to be very straightforward.
Yeah, I don't know, and that's another thing. Maybe it's just a talking point that people learn, and they don't really fully understand the issue. But you know, I assure everybody whenever they bring that up, there's a plan. The math is there. We're projected to get about $10 million annually. That should be, you know, 80 or 180, 170 million worth of bonding. So I mean, the math is all there. You just have to have people that know how a calculator works, that sit down and watch the numbers, and of course, stay in communication with your constituents. If people suspect anything and they're calling you, you need to talk to them. You need to reassure them.
You mentioned, when you were going around talking to people, hearing from people that they wanted to move somewhere with, quote, better schools. Part of that, I think, the chamber touched on the perception from the facilities. But what do you think District 186 is doing well? And are there areas where you have concerns that it needs to improve in terms of student performance?
For student performance. So I've talked to a lot of teachers and a lot of principals lately, and I can tell you what the district's doing well is the teachers. Mm-hmm. I've already had a high level of respect for the teachers. They haven't gone into some of the poor schools especially. It's just gone through the roof. My appreciation for what they're doing, the resources that they are using out of their own pocket, the time and energy it takes, because in a lot of these schools are not only teaching for an education, but they're getting a social education too, and they're coming from economic hardships. So the level of care and compassion and the energy that our teachers are pouring out is the reason why I know 186 is going to be fine. I know that we can turn the perception around, And I think naturally once some of this infrastructure package gets implemented, you're going to see some of this. You're going to see some pride. You're going to see students that feel better about their facility, that feel better about their school. I make the association of my house. My house is 30 years old. I could put new siding on it, and it doesn't change the fact that it's a 30-year-old house. But I'm going to feel different about it. I'm going to pull into the driveway and just feel a little bit better. And I think these students really need this out of their school level, the facility level. So I'm hoping this is something that we can just slowly start to mitigate and to reverse over time.
You brought up property taxes a little bit ago and how they're high. Every now and then in the State House, there's discussion about freezing property taxes and throughout the state, possibly temporary or permanent. What do you think the impact of such a freeze would be for the district?
I think it would be significant. I know that's another one of those two-edged swords. They rely so heavily on the property taxes, and they're already high, but if you freeze them and start or even reduce the taxes, that's only going to hurt the district. It'd be nice if the state were able to pick up a little bit more of the tab so that we could help defray some of the costs for the property owners, but for now, this is a situation that we're in, and I would rather see some actual finances going towards the district and not being taken away. I just don't see how that would be helpful.
Okay.
After several years, the state legislature passed and the governor signed a new funding formula for schools. Do you have some sense of the impact on that on 186? How that might help or hurt?
So that was the package that Senator Menard, I think, was advocating.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I couldn't be happier that they helped push that forward. That does help to close the equity gap, to help bring some more finances to the district. I don't know that it's enough, but with a compromise, you're never going to get all of what you want. It's just something I think we're going to have to see how it fleshes out in time to see if it's enough or if there's more that can be done at the state level.
You've talked a couple times about the importance of communicating. How would you do that with your constituents? How would you make sure they knew how to?
With my cell phone number and text messages, hopefully.
Okay.
Because as a father of a 4- and 7-year-old, it's kind of hard to pick up the phone and have conversations, but I always let people know, this is my cell phone number. Feel free to text me anytime before midnight. I'm most likely going to get a call back to you, or a phone conversation. I mean, it's an open door policy. People should be able to talk to me either one-on-one or on phone, text through a meeting, whichever their preferred venue is, email, whatever it takes. I want people to feel comfortable that they have somebody they can turn to.
Okay. Bullying is a problem I think every school sees at some level, and had a recent example on social media after Southeast when the city tournament and the Spirit Awards, some of their students took some not nice comments directed towards some of their students. How can the district work to reduce bullying and those types of comments?
So the district, they have policies that speak against bullying, but what I was most impressed with this specific instance was the Unity in Our Community campaign that the students then engaged in, and that is the appropriate response. I've taught my girls that bullying is wrong. Anytime you see it, you should speak up against it, even if your voice shakes a little bit, and that's exactly what the students did, so I couldn't have been more proud to see them rise up above this and let their peers know this isn't acceptable behavior. That, to me, is the textbook way of how you solve it. You solve it from within.
For parents, school safety has just always been a paramount issue, and unfortunately in the last couple of years become even more of an issue with what we've seen happen nationally with shootings. How safe do you feel like the schools in 186 are right now, and are there changes you would want to make in security, or do you see things that are needed?
I feel that schools are pretty safe. They've got some of the Phase 1 master plan is going to include for extra security at the doorways, cameras, so there are some measures that are going to be implemented, but on top of that, I know that there are active shooter drills that happen throughout the year at the different schools, and it's it's kind of sad that this is the time that we live in, but I have to remind myself that when I was a kid growing up, I had to drill hiding under a desk for a tornado. And I remember being scared that a tornado was going to rip the roof of our school off. And my parents, they had to drill hiding under their desk for nuclear fallout. So, you know, I hate to say it, but part of this is just the times that we live in. And I'm glad to see that 186 is taking a proactive approach, that they are prepared, and that they do have extra security measures that are on the way.
Diversity is sometimes discussed as well about District 186, including the diversity of the staff. Do you think the district needs to be more proactive in hiring a diverse work staff?
Yes. I think that they have always been behind the curve as far as having minority representation in teachers and administrators. I'm not sure exactly how hard they've tried to recruit people from, you know, how far away they're going to look for new talent, but I definitely think we need more representation, and that's been an ongoing problem, and it's something that I don't know that I have a magic wand to fix overnight, but I think recognizing that there is a problem with minority representation and working to mitigate it, just to improve it, I think is a step in the right direction.
So there's a school of thought that says that school board members are trustees for the whole district, for all of 186. How does the fact that the district is divided into subdistricts either help or hinder that kind of a role for a board to play, a board advocating for the entire district?
Yeah. I could look at Subdistrict 2, for instance, with an isolationist stance and say that I should only be concerned with my constituents and the schools within that district. However, the 3 schools that my girls would be attending are all outside of Subdistrict 2. So I have to be concerned with facilities in other people's districts. And also they have constituents that go to schools within my district. So there's already a natural overlap built into the compartmentalized districts, and you have to care about the entire district. You can't be isolationist. You have to talk to your fellow board members, and you have to be concerned about everybody.
How did you choose Ball Charter for your daughter?
We got lucky, and we put her application in. And I admit it was a little bittersweet because we were convinced that Wilcox would be my oldest daughter's elementary school, and we went and showed her the playground. Said, this is going to be your new school, and trying to figure out if we live close enough to where I can actually walk her to school, because we live just across Sangamon Avenue. And I got a big kick out of walking my girls over to Emmanuel Lutheran, which is just down the road. But we just threw the application in because we knew it was an opportunity, and at the last minute got selected. And really, if it weren't for a K-8 environment, we probably would have gone to Wilcox because we had a pretty good impression. However, being K-8, that means both of my daughters will be able to spend more time under one roof together. And that, I think, was a difference that was considerable.
Okay.
So Governing Magazine's just published an article about discrimination, racial bias, racial divides in Midwestern cities. And Springfield really played a role in that. So did you get a chance to take a look at that?
I did, I read that. Yeah.
And what was your impression, and how might that inform your work on the board?
It was a real eye-opener. These are a lot of the harsh realities that many of us know, many of us suspect, and some of us want to ignore. It's something that has been in my forefront that I've noticed all along, and that's one thing that I'm really proud of with Ball Charter, with Springfield Ball Charter. I feel like it is such a melting pot of different walks of life, of different kids from all over the school. And I know in that school you can avoid just being compartmentalized with neighborhood kids from certain areas. I think it's horrible. I actually drove through Poplar Place just so I could see that one housing unit that had been renovated, because that was a subject that had come up in that article. And we need some more pride throughout the entire city. This should be a community. Everybody should care about all of the schools, and that's just a microcosm of the people that live within the community. I've reached out to teachers in a lot of the lower performing schools. I've had great conversations with them, and I'm going back to visit them again. And I think just letting people know that you care is a big step in the right direction.
You mentioned earlier you'd like to see the industrial type program go back to the middle schools. Are there other program changes or educational offerings you'd like to see added or subtracted or different for 186 students?
Well, I've seen a lot of push towards this AVID curriculum, which prepares kids for college classes.
AVID?
AVID, A-V-I-D. It gets them into a note-taking, organizational structure, and gets them thinking about college. And there's a lot of promotion with Illinois colleges. That's something throughout the middle school. I think even at the elementary school, I believe Wilcox is doing that too. And to me, I think it's great that you're getting kids early to think about college. But having said that, I recognize college isn't for everybody. So I would like to see more of a presence with the trades. I'm not sure exactly what opportunities are there for credit when you're in school that can then be applied towards an apprenticeship. But you know, anything in the high school level that can be offered. And then, like I said, with the industrial arts programs, that just gets kids exposed to all kinds of different opportunities.
Yeah.
Because the trades, I mean, they offer a great way of life. And there was a time in my life where I felt like I really missed out on not being an electrician because most of my friends were. And, you know, things seem to have worked out anyway. But I still encourage anybody getting out of high school, give it a shot at Lincoln Land. If you don't know what you're doing, just take some courses and try to figure it out. And if you haven't, get plugged in with a trade. You know, even if 3 years later, maybe it's not what your lifelong dream was, you're going to earn a good wage because thankfully, you know, around here, the trades are real strong.
How do you think the district's relationship is with Lincoln Land?
I think it's pretty good. Every time I go out to Lincoln Land, I'm blown away how many new expansions they have and new program offerings. I can't wait for the day when Lincoln Land and UIS just join and become a mega campus. But Lincoln Land's been great to me. UIS the same way. They just put that student union up recently. And you know, like I said, when I went through high school, we were getting scholarships to go out there, and that's really the only reason I went to Lincoln Land. I probably would have, I thought I would have been an architect at SIU, but Lincoln Land taught me I wasn't quite good enough at calculus. So I had to change up. It was a sobering experience.
So you learned from your mistake.
Right, I did, yeah. And that's how you get the true learning, right?
Would you like to see any other partnerships that the District 186 could have with the higher education institutes in our area? I mean, you mentioned maybe the med schools. Are there any other opportunities you see?
I think there's a lot of opportunities there now. I'm sure I've got ideas that maybe are already being implemented, but this is just, you know, a part of the learning experience. Also, being a board member, seeing what's currently out there, what is working, what isn't working, and what we can do to expand. And a lot of that just comes from feedback. Just like I said, communication. There's no sense in me sitting around and trying to think of new innovative ideas when people smarter than me have already thought of them.
Well, we thank you, Micah, for meeting with us today, and we invite you to give a brief closing statement as to why voters should choose you on Election Day.
Well, once again, thank you, State Journal Register, for providing this opportunity for me to speak with you. What makes me unique is I've been born and raised in Springfield. I've gone through 186 schools my whole life, and I'm a product of Springfield, and I want to be a voice for my children as they just start their journey through 186, not only for them and for the other children in the subdistrict, but I want to make sure that we have quality facilities that they can learn in. I want to make sure they have the access to a quality education, and I want to make sure that they have the opportunities for lifelong success. I believe in 186. I want families to believe in 186. I want parents to want to send their kids to 186. I encourage anybody to check out my Facebook page. It is Micah Miller for 186. If you have any questions, feel free to send me, contact me through that page. I'm driven. I have a reputation of following up on things, and I'm asking for your vote on April 2nd.